So this figure shows the variation of Nusselt number with respect to the angle theta for different values of Reynolds number. But as pointed out earlier, we are more interested in the average value over the complete periphery of the cylinder. Now for that, normally we have to depend upon the empirical correlations. That is the correlations presented by different researchers based on their experiments. So such a correlation may be in this form, like the average Nusselt number, as you can read here, is given by some constant, and it is a function of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. So Reynolds number raised to m and Prandtl number raised to 1 by 3. Right. So this type of this form of correlation was proposed by Hilbert. Now the value of m and c will depend upon the value of the Reynolds number. So there is a table which may be used to get those two coefficients. Okay. There is one more which is proposed, and that is more useful when there is the temperature difference between the surface and the fluid is very much different, right? So in that case, the one by Zukaskas may be used. There is more general correlation by Churchill and Bernstein. So it is applicable over a very wide range of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. Only condition is that Reynolds number into Prandtl number should be greater than 0.2. Okay. So we are going to solve an example here where we will be using this Churchill-Bernstein correlation. And for that earlier correlation, your C and M value depends upon the Reynolds number, and for different ranges of Reynolds number, different values of C and M are to be used. So let us now move towards an example. So you can first write down the data for the example. So this is the data for the example. There is a pipe through which steam is passing, which is saturated, okay, and the temperature is 205 degrees Celsius. The pipe diameter is 150 millimeters, and it's a 10-meter long pipe. Now when this 205 degrees Celsius steam is passing through the pipe, uh, like the temperature of the steam and the surface of the pipe will not be same, okay, because of the convection boundary layer that will be formed over the surface, over the inner surface we are talking about. But we are not going into that. We are not talking about internal flow. So here it's given that the surface temperature is 5 degrees lower than the steam temperature. So basically surface temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. Now you may ask that whether you're talking about the inner surface temperature or outer surface temperature. So here you can read, it is said that it's a thin pipe, right? So thin pipe, as from the knowledge of conduction, for a metal, as you would know, that the temperature drop will be very small if the thickness is less and the conductivity is good. So here it is to be assumed that in inner surface and outer surface temperatures are same. So that's 200 degree Celsius. We'll not go into more details of that because we are interested in the external flow, the convection happening over the surface of the pipe. Right? So I would like to show you such a similar example is given in Yunus Sengel. So I'll take this diagram from here. some parameters have been changed and some other modifications also might have been made, but basically this is the figure which will give you idea about the problem. And as I have been telling, one should draw such schematic diagram before starting the starting solving the problem. Okay, so there is a pipe, so it's basically a cylinder in cross flow, right? And air is or wind is flowing over that. Okay, now what is the surface temperature of the pipe? I have taken it 200 degrees Celsius. In this example it is given 110 degrees Celsius, but as per our example you should be changing these numbers. Now this pipe is erected in an open area, so basically it passes through an open area which is not protected against the winds. So let's say you are talking about some process steam, and this process steam or the process plant or the boiler is on one side, and the plant where it is to be used for heating purpose is on the other side of a road. There is some road in between. So this pipe has to travel from that utility room or the boiler room to the process plant. So let's say this pipe is 10-meter long and the steam is passing through that. Okay. Now let's say this pipe is not insulated, so it is like completely exposed to the winds. So what you have to determine is what is the rate at which the heat loss will occur from the surface of the pipe. Now, whether the heat loss that you calculate is high or low, now these terms are actually all relative terms. What is high and what is low, you will be able to tell only if you compare it with something, right? So you should compare it with the right reference. So for that purpose, what I have included here is what part of the steam would condense, right? So we are assuming that saturated steam, but when heat loss occurs, some part of that steam would condense. So what percentage of steam would condense? So that will give you a relative idea whether the loss is significant or insignificant. Of course, the other way to calculate that could be like how much heat is lost, and to produce that much heat in the boiler, how much fuel is burnt and what is the cost of the fuel. So how much is the money that you are wasting if you are not insulating the pipe. So that could be another approach. Okay, so we want to find out basically what is the rate at which the heat loss occurs from the surface of the pipe. And air is taken at, let's say it's some winter case, and air is at, you are taking let's say some extreme case, and air is at 10 degrees Celsius, and the flow rate or the wind speed is 18 kilometers per hour, and the steam flow rate is given 2030 kilogram per hour. Okay, so this is the first part. In the later part we are going to this part, what I have shown, if after if it is the second part of the example. So we'll be taking only the first part, and then later on we'll modify it and talk about the insulation. So right now you need not worry about the later part and focus only on the first part. Yes. So you can first list down the parameters, draw the diagram, list down the parameters. So the surface temperature of the pipe is 200 degrees Celsius, temperature of air is 10 degrees Celsius, velocity of the wind is 18 kilometer per hour, or if you convert it into meter per second, it comes out to be 5 meters per second. The diameter of the pipe is 150 millimeter. We are not distinguishing between inner diameter and outer diameter. It is one same. Let's say if it is just 1 mm diameter, then we might be able to neglect it, right? So diameter of the pipe is taken 150 millimeter. Length of the pipe is 10 millimeters. Now we are normally interested in the mean film temperature, right? Because the properties of the air. Now here, what would be required? Whether the properties of air would be required or properties of the steam would be required. particularly for the purpose of finding the convective heat transfer coefficient, it is the properties of the air that would be required, because the air or wind is flowing over the surface. So we're interested in the what happens on the outer surface of the pipe, not what is happening inside the pipe, right? So properties of the air are to be calculated, but the properties depend upon the temperature, right? So I'm finding out the average temperature, which has come out to be 105 degrees Celsius. So you can refer to the properties of air at 105 degrees Celsius, which is the average of this 210, right? So you should look into that table and list down the properties like density. So you may not find 110, it is 105, so you should take the average of and 110, right? So you can see those things here, 100 and 110. Okay,
Sir.
so the density.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, we have
Yes.
to take temperature in Kelvin.
No. What is the unit given in the table? The unit given in table is degree Celsius, right? So
Yes.
you have to convert it into degree Celsius, right? Don't get confused by what is shown here. I have converted it to 105 degrees Celsius. Right? Okay, it is 378, right? This program shows it that way, but you need not worry about that. It is 210 divided by 5, so it is 105 degrees Celsius. Okay, and your table also gives it in degrees Celsius, right? You don't have to do any calculation to get the property. You have to just read it from the table. So the table gives it at 100 and 110 degrees Celsius. You know your temperature is 105 degrees Celsius. So whatever properties are there at these two temperatures, you take the average of those two numbers, right? So if you want to get density, it is the average of 0.9456 and 0.9209, right? So the average will be found, and you will do it for all the properties. So now list down the properties, the density, the what you need, density, viscosity, and thermal conductivity also might be needed. So you write down those properties at 105 degrees Celsius from the table. Okay. After doing that, so the density is around, as I told you, generally need to go only up to 4 significant digits. So density is around 0.9332. The value that you get from table may not be perfectly the same number. You need not worry about minor difference. Then the viscosity, dynamic viscosity, what you should get is 2.188 into 10 raised to minus 5 kg per meter second, right? So that's the viscosity. Cp and K values are also listed down. Okay. So they are 1014. This is basically kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Kilojoule per kg. You may need it to get the Prandtl number, right? So Cp is 1.0141 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, and thermal conductivity is 0.0308. Okay, it is watt per meter Kelvin. Okay, watt per meter Kelvin, right? Thermal conductivity. Okay, you can write here watt per meter Kelvin. So these are the parameters that you will get from the table, right? Now, most of the times, the first thing that you do is finding the Reynolds number. So get the Reynolds number. rho VD upon mu, right? And just check whether what I have got is correct or not. So in case you get the same number or a number very close to this, you can just write yes in the chat box. In case it is something different, you may convey it. So most of the times the properties are found at the average temperature of the surface and the fluid, right? But there are some correlations where you take the fluid, take it at the fluid temperature, right? So I think two people have confirmed that you are getting it around 32,000, right? So yeah, it's close to that number, 31,983, right? So even if you don't write 0.4, it's fine. As I have been telling, 4 or 5 significant digits are more than enough, right? So writing it even 31980 is fine. Okay, now get the Prandtl number. Get the Prandtl number because it's not given in table. So it is mu Cp by K. Prandtl number is mu Cp by K, and just again confirm that you are getting something close to this, right? 0.719. The Prandtl number has comparatively less influence, so you may be like, even if you are less accurate about that, it's fine. But still, I have displayed it up to 4 significant digits. So mu Cp by K, the Prandtl number, and whether you get this number 0.7195. Now in case you don't have some property, let's say Cp is not available, okay, so last resort, if you are dealing with air, you can take it 0.7, right? In case data is not available, you can take it 0.7. So here a more accurate answer is 0.7195, right? I believe it is correct based on experience also. Now you want to say use Churchill-Bernstein correlation, right? Churchill-Bernstein correlation. So what is the criteria to use that? You can't use any correlation anywhere. You should satisfy the criteria laid down for that correlation. So the criteria for using the Churchill-Bernstein correlation is that the multiplication of Reynolds number and Prandtl number should be greater than 0.2, right? So get the multiplication. What you get is 23,000 something. So it's much higher than 0.2. So you can very conveniently use the Churchill-Bernstein correlation here. So what is the form of the Churchill-Bernstein correlation? This correlation, which you are going to use. And with the help of that, you want to find out the Nusselt number, right? You want to find out the Nusselt number because you want to find out the heat transfer coefficient, with the help of which you will be able to get the heat loss rate from the surface of the steam pipe, whose diameter is 150 mm. Okay, so get this number 0.3 plus 0.62 Reynolds number raised to 1/2, Prandtl number raised to 1/5. So the formula is bit complicated, but the good thing about this formula is that it is applicable over a very wide range of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. Okay. So get the number and tell me what is the Nusselt number that you are getting. You can type it in the chat box. So again, if you feel that if you try to evaluate the formula, whole formula in one go, there could be error. You may do it in parts, like the first something outside the bracket may be evaluated separately. Even in that, you can go for two different parts, right? Numerator and the denominator, and then what is there inside the bracket. Okay, if you do that, there could be rounding of errors, but then you need not worry much about that. See, these correlations, they give you some uh, like result, but it's not that in reality you will get exactly the same heat transfer coefficient or same number, right? These have some errors in them, a range of error. So the researcher, while he is giving a correlation, he would also give an error band that my formula is plus or minus 10% accurate. Plus or minus 5 could be a very good number, right? Okay, so people are getting, somebody got it 89 and somebody got it 71, somebody got it 104, right? So average seems to be somewhere around 90, then somebody is getting it even higher. Okay, 88. Two persons have got 88. So perhaps that could be the right answer. Let's see. Okay. So as I have been telling that these formula never give you an 100% accurate result. They always have some error. You can expect an error, and there is a band plus or minus 5%, plus or minus 10%, or even more than that. But they are for getting some good estimate of the coefficients. Right, so the number that I get is 105. I don't know how many of you are correct. So it's okay. Uh, my coefficients are correct. In case you see there is some mistake by me somewhere, you can point it out. 0.62 and 0.4 and 282,000, 0.62 and 0.4 and 428,200, those things seem to be correct, right? Then this 0.5 and 0.8. Right, it's 4 by 5 and 5 by 8 here. Yeah. Okay, and this Reynolds number has been used, right? This RED has been used, Reynolds number, right? So it is 105.125. You can, in case you are not getting the same number, you can do the calculation again. Okay, so this is value of Nusselt number on the outer surface of this pipe. So what will be, how much will be the heat transfer coefficient? The heat transfer coefficient is NUK by D, right? So Nusselt number is 105.125 into K, the thermal conductivity of air, which you have already listed down, divided by the diameter of the pipe, which is 0.15 meter. Okay. With that, you get the heat transfer coefficient, right? With that, you get the heat transfer coefficient, whose value is equal to 21.616 watt per meter square Kelvin. 21.616 watt per meter square Kelvin. It is meter square Kelvin. Okay. So this is also not very high heat transfer coefficient actually. Right? It is in double digits. In one of the example, we got it just in single digit. This is in double digits due to two reasons. One, the velocity is bit high, and temperature of air is bit high, right? So this makes it slightly higher, but still this can be called low heat transfer coefficient. It's not in hundreds or thousands, as you will see later. Let's say in case of water, you are very easily able to get it in hundreds or thousands, and even in like in case of boiling and condensation also, it is generally in thousands. Okay. So air is not a good media for heat transfer. You again see, or that fact is demonstrated here. So because of this heat transfer coefficient, how much is the heat transfer rate? So HA delta T, right? HA delta T. So you have to get the area of the cylinder. So it is pi dl. You can get that pi dl, and then the heat transfer or heat loss rate, right? Heat loss rate HA delta T. Delta T is temperature of surface of pipe minus temperature of air. So surface of pipe is at 200 degrees Celsius, air is at 10 degrees Celsius. So 190 degree difference into the area. Area is coming out to be 4.712. Okay. So the loss rate is coming out to be 19.33 kilowatt. Yes, very close to that. 19.354 is what I am getting. If you get it somewhere around 19.3, it is fine. So that's the heat loss rate. Now, whether this should be called a high heat loss rate or low heat loss rate, as I had told that these things are always relative thing. So let's try to get this number, that what part of the steam is, what percentage of steam is getting condensed. For that, you should know the latent heat of vaporization of water at what temperature. Now this temperature at which this condensation is occurring, like it is told that the surface is at 200 degrees Celsius, and the steam was at 205 degrees Celsius. So let's get the like the latent heat at, and where do you get this latent heat from? Like I am getting it from some program here, but you get it from the properties of water, right? So properties of water should be used to get the property of saturated water. That should be used to get the latent heat of vaporization at 205 degree Celsius, right? So this is the table, and 205 degrees Celsius. So this is the row that you will refer. So the latent heat of vaporization, this 2794 is that of vapor, right? So vapor minus liquid. So you have to get the difference between these two, 2794 and 874. Right? So it's somewhat less than this. Could be somewhere around 1900. Right? So let's see what you get here. Yes, 1912 kilojoule per kg is the latent heat of vaporization at 205 degrees Celsius. As I told, uh, the value that you get from steam table may not be perfectly same as what you got here. There could be a minor difference, but that will hardly affect the result. Okay. Now, how much is the mass of steam? It is actually given. So as of now, you just neglect this part. You don't need to see this thing. So how much part, or how, at what rate is the steam getting condensed, right? So this heat loss rate is 19.354 kilowatt divided by the latent heat of vaporization will give you the rate at which the condensation is occurring. So condensation rate is 36.444 kilogram per hour. So what percentage is it of the total flow rate? Total flow rate has been given. Don't look at the calculation done here. It has been given in the data. So it's 2030 kilogram per hour. So out of that 2030 kilogram per hour, 36 kilogram is getting condensed, which is 1.795% or around 1.8%, right? Now the engineer has to decide whether this should be called a low percentage loss or a high percentage loss, whether that is affordable or not affordable. As I told, one method for that could be the heat loss rate multiplied by whatever is the calorific value of the fuel, and then per kg cost, and what is the monetary loss. Okay, that could be one method. Okay. Now let us let's say we feel that this loss is high and should be reduced. Right? This loss is high and should be reduced. So what are the means available for that? You might insulate this pipe. Right? If you insulate this pipe, then the heat loss will reduce. So how are you going to insulate it? Let's say you are insulating it with a 2-inch mineral wool blanket, right? The thickness of the insulation is 2 inch. 2 inch means somewhere around 50 millimeters, right? 25.4 mm is 1 inch. So I'm taking it equal to 50 mm, right? Thickness I'm taking 50 mm. So it gets added on both the sides. So basically it increases the diameter by 100 millimeter. So now as you can see, new diameter of the pipe is 250 millimeters. You have increased the diameter of the pipe, right? And this mineral wool blanket, let's say, has thermal conductivity of 0.075 watt per meter Kelvin, and it has been given that now the surface temperature, which was 200 degrees Celsius earlier, reduces to 19 degrees Celsius, right? It reduces to just 19 degrees Celsius, just 9 degrees above the air temperature. Now this has been given to you. As of now, you need not worry whether it will be really 19 degrees Celsius or not. With some means, I have got the right estimate. So it reduces to 19 degrees Celsius as given to you. Okay. Now, for the new case, you want to get the heat transfer coefficient. Whether the heat transfer coefficient in this new case, after you wrap it with this insulation, will remain same or not. Let us try and evaluate. So the temperatures have changed, so air properties would change. So now what is the average temperature that you are talking about? You are just talking about 14.5 degree Celsius temperature. So the air properties would be very much different from the previous properties that you had taken. So you have to read it again from the table. Now this is 14.5 and what is available is 10 and 20. Okay, so if you feel you want to be very accurate, you have enough time, then you can interpolate it at for 4.5 degrees between this 10 and 20. But if you feel you don't have enough time, even if you take it at 15 degrees Celsius, uh, you your answer will not vary very much from this 14.5 degree answer, right? So in case you don't have enough time, there is not much harm in taking the reading the properties at 15 degree Celsius, but it is recommended that you clearly mention it. If you do that, write it properties evaluated at 15 degrees Celsius, so at least it is known that you like you are making that decision consciously. Yes. So now the new properties are written here: density, and then the thermal conductivity and viscosity, Cp, etc. Now your new Reynolds number is coming out to be 85,573, right? Earlier it was 31,983. So Reynolds number has increased. The reason for that is, one, the diameter of the pipe uh, has increased, right? And there could be some changes in the other properties like density and viscosity, which are also affecting the value of Reynolds number. So you have actually increased Reynolds number, and because of that, the heat transfer coefficient may come out to be higher, right? Now, whether that higher value is increasing the convective heat transfer rate or not, right? Of course, the chances are very less because the temperature difference is now very, very low. But if you are more interested in, let's say, H, then let us try and compare the value of H that you get. So now these calculations, we may not have enough time for you to do this calculation now. You can do it later. So new Nusselt number is still, I think it is very close to previous one which was found, and that is, this is 190, around 196. What you got earlier, no, it is different. So what you got earlier is 105, was a 105. Now it is 195, and H value is bit higher, 24.17, but not very much different, right? This was 21.62 and now it is 24 point something. So H value has not changed much. H value has not changed much, right? So now what is the new heat loss rate? You can see it has drastically reduced. H value has not changed much. Area is also same, but particularly this temperature difference is very, very small, and because of that it has reduced to just 1.8 kilowatt, 1.709 kilowatt, right? And with the same flow rate, the condensation rate is just 3.2 kg, almost 1/10 of the what you got previously. And this gives this percentage is 0.158. Okay, percentage is 0.158. So that's a very small loss that that will happen now, right? So one may say that yes, it is necessary. It has like it was necessary to insulate this, right? But then insulation has its own cost and some maintenance related issues. And if it is an open area, then the weather protection also would be required. Okay, so the cost, initial cost increases, but then on the other side, you are saving fuel and reducing the losses. Right. So this is a practical example how you could use the available correlation for finding the heat transfer coefficient from the surface of a cylinder. So cylinder in cross flow. Right. Okay. And here, like the whatever assumption was made, I have just verified, or rather, I have done it by trial and error method. This is not part of the example. Like, be very clear about that. So if you don't understand this part, don't worry at all. All right. And you might have come across in conduction if you have like composite wall, multiple different materials through which the heat is passing, then you can use electrical analogy to find the overall the thermal conductivity. So similar thing has been done here. Here it is a combination of conduction and convection on two sides, and with this I have just verified that the surface temperature would come out to be 19 degree Celsius, would be very close to 19 degree Celsius, right? But for this example, you can take that it was given to you, and here the prime job was to find the heat transfer coefficient and get the heat transfer rate from that. So I hope this example is almost completely understood. In case you have some difficulty, you can write it in chat box, or you can even convey it later. And this video also will be uploaded, so you can watch it later also. Now, why is this case important? Of course, one practical example has been given, that is a steam pipe and the air passing over that. So it makes it like cylinder in cross flow, one of the cases of external flow. But this is a very important case for other area in heat transfer also, that is in heat exchangers, right? So maybe some of you attended that session in ISHRE. So there are multiple tubes. Let me go to, of course, we are not going to discuss that case in detail, but just to give you some idea of that, like in many of the heat exchangers, they are like tubular heat exchangers, right? Like we have a chapter on shell and tube type of heat exchanger. So even in that, like there is a shell and there are multiple tubes, and one of the heat fluid involved in heat transfer passes through tubes. You can see multiple tubes here, and there could be like let's say water is passing through all the tube. It's pumped through these tubes, and you have let's say another fluid which is passing over these tubes, right? So like if you have closely observed the uh, coil, as it is called, or the condenser or the evaporator of your air conditioner, or even the radiator of a car, right? There are multiple tubes in that, and of course there are fins over these tubes, right? There are fins provided over this tube to increase the surface area. On which side are the fins provided? You have, like, if you're talking about a condenser of a refrigerant or radiator, then the liquid is passing through the tubes, right? Many times that is the case, and either it is being heated or being cooled by the air passing over this. Now, the air, as it has been already demonstrated in two of the examples, it is a very poor media for heat transfer. So how do you compensate that? One of the ways to compensate that is to provide more area on the air side, right? More area on the air side, and that is why you put fins on the air side. Okay. You can put fins inside these tubes also, or you can roughen the surface, or you can like you can have some kind of grooves inside this. That is also done. But more important is to improve the heat transfer rate on the outer surface, right? When we study the theory of heat exchangers and solve some examples, you will better understand that. But one thing is that the fins are provided on the outer surface because it is air which is outside, which is a very poor media for heat transfer. So you try to compensate it by increasing the area on the air side. And basically what I wanted to convey is that uh, the cylinder in cross flow is a very important case in the study of heat transfer, because in many of the heat exchangers you come across this kind of phenomena where the one fluid is passing over the surface of a cylinder, and the axis of the cylinder is perpendicular to the flow direction of the fluid, as it is seen in this case. Okay. So this was an important case for heat transfer, though we are not going into the case where you have multiple tubes arranged like this, and what is the effect of that, or what is the average heat transfer coefficient on the outer surface. So such things is not being discussed now. And one more case of external flow is flow over a sphere. Flow over a sphere like this, right? And there is one example also which I am providing here. Okay. Now the correlations for the flow over a sphere or the nature of the flow or physics of the flow would be very similar to what happens in case of a cylinder. And one of the popular correlation is one by Whittaker. So you can see what is the nature of that correlation. Nusselt number, this is for sphere. 2 plus 0.4 Reynolds number is to 1/2 plus 0.06 Reynolds number is to 2/3. Prandtl number is to 0.4, and this is something different, mu upon mu infinity upon mu s. Now here you can read this, right? The criteria is also important. It is valid for Reynolds number in the range of 3.5 to 80,000 and Prandtl number 0.7 to 380. The fluid properties in this case are evaluated at free stream temperature T infinity except mu s, okay, which is evaluated at surface temperature Ts. So this is a very important statement. When you use this correlation, the Whittaker correlation for the spheres, you will find all these parameters, Reynolds number and Prandtl number and mu infinity, at the fluid temperature, right? Not at the mean film temperature. And mu s will be found at the surface temperature. Okay. So while you use this, you should be very clear about the like when you use the properties or find the properties or fetch the properties from table. This should be very clear in your mind. Okay, so one such example is taken here. So there is a ball of spherical or sphere of 25.4 mm diameter, and it is, let's say, for some purpose, it is heated up to 240 degrees Celsius in an oven, and then you are taking it out and then you are blowing air over that, and that air temperature is 40 degrees Celsius, and you are blowing it at a velocity of 10 meter per second, and you are interested in getting the time period to cool it up to 60 degree Celsius. Now, in a way, this is an example of transient conduction, right? You might come across this in trans theory or the examples that you take in transient conduction also. But our interest here is just to get the heat transfer coefficient, just to get the heat transfer coefficient. Okay, so what is done here is now here the temperature is not remaining constant. It was initially 240 and then finally it reduced to 60. So initial is 240 and the final is 60. Air temperature is 40. So what is the average temperature of the sphere? 240 and 60 average of that. So that is 150. Now this is a steel sphere, so the properties of the steel are mentioned here. Again, you have to get it from the appendix of a book or a table, or it might be given directly in the example. So the density and the thermal conductivity is 18 watt per meter Kelvin. Cp of steel 480 joule per kg Kelvin, and the diameter of this sphere is here it is written 100 mm, right? So let me change this to 100 mm. Okay, so now what is the average? This average is shown the average temperature of air and the sphere, but I don't think this will be used. Then the property of air, right? So this is the fluid temperature. This is the fluid temperature, T air, right? So T air is 40 degrees Celsius. So you can see the properties are evaluated at the bulk uh, temperature of the fluid and not the mean film temperature. This is the thermal conductivity, and this mu should be calculated at the surface temperature, right? So actually this should be changed, right? Okay, so that mu ratio which is coming in Whittaker correlation is this mu of air at the average surface temperature and mu of air at, this 40 degrees Celsius temperature, and then the Prandtl number is also evaluated at the fluid temperature at 40 degrees Celsius. So it comes out to be 0.724, and then Reynolds number you have evaluated again at 40 degrees Celsius, right? So that is 41.345 that you got. Now you use this correlation, so you got it 132.622, and you get this the heat transfer coefficient, right, which is coming out to be 35. So this is of main interest to us, right? 35 watt per meter square Kelvin is the heat transfer coefficient that you got, and then from that from this formula of transient conduction I got the time period over which this cooling will occur. So it tells me that it will take around 70.5 minutes to this. Now here, as you will study in again transient conduction, there is one number, bio number, which is important, and whose value should be low. Only then you can assume that the whole sphere is at the same temperature. That is lumped capacitance method. But I'm not going into that. Right. Our main interest was to get the heat transfer coefficient here, which is 35. Right. So we solved like two parts of one example and then one more example on sphere. So you can repeat those examples. I can also provide you the data for the example, and just for practice you can do it again and check whether what you do is correct, or like in case there is some mistake made by me, you can always point it out. Okay. Yeah, so